Hang with me as I play with alcohol ink and stencils. I got some additional ideas and I'm going to put it to the test because I got some really cool stencils and I want to make it work. So let's play. Howdy, howdy everyone. So I purchased a series of stencils from this one company. What is it? GSS Designs. And I really like the design of this. And yeah, you guys know I have a soft spot for horses, but I also like things done in a unique fashion. I'm not one that buys all the horses. I want to make, I want to make sure that they're done well with some, not necessarily taste, but just really creative process. So when I did the stencil the last time with the Mylar and the alcohol ink, obviously it didn't work really well because the alcohol ink is super thin like water and it runs under the stencil super easy. So it's kind of sparked on some ideas about how to make this work because it's kind of a challenge and it would be fun to be able to play with this. So one of the thoughts is using rubber cement, and we tried this before and it worked really well. So maybe there's a way we can combine this with this, and because it's a Mylar plastic, this rubber cement should be able to peel off super easy. So I'm going to do two different tests. So this video will do one test and another video for a second one. I've got a second stencil to share with you guys. So I'm going to put this in the little holder, and the first thing I'm going to do is throw some color on here just to have a background, and then we'll go to the next step. So, be back in a sec. Howdy. Okay. So I've got just a piece of Yupo paper that this is a piece that I cut in half from one of the larger pads. And it's heavy because I'm going to be using some heat with this. And that just reminds me I didn't plug in my heat gun. I'll be right back. Okay, now I got my act together. I have an area for my resin and an area for my alcohol ink. Basically, I've got two plastic tables put together, and so one of the tables is alcohol ink, and then the other one over there is resin. And I use the same extension cord for both my big heat gun that I use for resin, and then one of the smaller blow dryer kind of things for alcohol ink. And yeah, I keep having to keep forgetting to move over the extension cords, which probably should mean I should get a second one so that each one of them has one. But oh well, until we get there. So I'm just doing a flick coat of some colors for now, just to give this something to show in the background, or like in the area of the horse inside of it. And it's kind of like batik. Have you ever heard of batik? I believe it either comes from India, Indonesia, somewhere over in that zone. And it's a process of working with fabric where they will give it a wash and then wash a color and then go and imprint with either a stamp or it's painted a wax on top of the fabric that already has the color in it. And then once that wax is hardened, then they go and dip that fabric in again, and the wax keeps the original color safe, so it acts as a resist. And when that and it embeds in the fibers, so that's how the colors don't penetrate the fibers. And then when that process is done, then they give it a hot wash, which melts the wax and removes the wax residue. And so you get this two-tone type of a look. Well, this kind of a thing that I'm doing here, where I'm giving this a wash, putting a stencil over top of it, and then coloring the remainder, is kind of basically the same principle, but it's just done in alcohol ink. give this a little bit more color over here. Okay, I'm gonna clean up my area here and then continue on to the next step. So I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, a little bit less than a mess there. I have a tendency to make a big mess. Okay, so my Mylar stencil is rather large, and in order for me to do this really well on camera, I'm probably going to rotate it around like that. So hopefully that won't be too much of a problem. So I fibbed the colors for the background, and as you can see here, the stencil area in here is where we're going to be doing our color. But what I'm going to do here is, you know what? I guess in either direction would work fine. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paint rubber cement on the stencil itself. So we're going to pull this to the side, me in this part for now. Hello, hubby. You know I'm going to call you out every time you come in. All right. So, and what I think I'm going to do also is put the envelope that the stencil came in on top of it, or underneath it, because I bet we can peel off the excess stencil pretty well. So my main focus is getting the details. Let me point at it with a brush so it'll make things easier. We want to seal around the image, so I'm definitely going to go really well from there to in here. I'm not too worried about too much of this area here, and then also we're going to brush inside the details inside here. And then when everything is done, I'm going to peel it off here, peel it off this plastic while it's still wet. The only thing I can see, like I said, it's an experiment, so I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. The only thing I can see is rubber cement. If you've ever played with it, when you start peeling it off, sometimes you can do a real long peel. So if I try to pull this off while it's still dry, it may peel off everything. So we don't want that to happen. We just want the area from here to separate from the area of here. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, here we go. I will probably fast forward through some of this because it's probably not going to be that exciting. All right. So what I'm going to do for right now is paint the large areas first. Oh, this is going to be a dripping mess. The large areas first, so that way the detail areas, which is the most critical part, I'll do last, so that way when I pull it up, it'll still be wet. That's the main concern. So if I remember right, my imagery was about here over to here. So I'm gonna get this first leg and obviously the head, and then the bent leg. All right. And rubber cement's one of those things that adheres really well when it's either wet or you have it in two areas and then you've allowed both areas to dry and then bond them together. It's kind of like contact cement. So I might have to move a little on the quicker side here. Of course, and I've got a detailed stencil, so hopefully I didn't shoot myself in the foot here. I'm just gonna start hustling. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I got my main area, gray, done up. So now I'm just gonna go across and do this part super fast. As long as it's got a nice coat on there, I'm happy. And I'm wondering if I should put it down while it's wet. Now that I was talking about how rubber cement works the best. Well, if we're gonna do an experiment, let's do the whole 9 yards. Okay. I'll leave that on the plastic for a second. Get this piece here. And then I'm gonna peel it off. Sorry, that's off camera. Try and get my fumble fingers working right. And lay it down there. Okay. I'm just trying to apply pressure just so it will have good contact. Okay, then we'll put this to the side, let it dry completely, and then we'll continue on with the next step. Later. Okay, this one's had a chance to dry, and it seems like it's adhering fairly well. You can see in here, actually, let me bring you out and get you a little closer. We are dealing with an experiment here, so we're not sure if it's gonna work. So, see how there's dark areas and light areas? I'm kind of curious on whether or not it's actually sealed really well with the white areas. So we'll find out real quick, because see, like some of those lines there are light and then they get darker right in there. So I don't know if that's the rubber cement drying and it's white or not. You know what I mean? Meaning it's dried to completely clear status. So we will find out. I'm going to use one of these little foam brushes so I can apply quite a bit of color to it and just go at it that way, because this is more of an experiment to see if the stencil process will work. So we're going to go to the next part. All right, I'll put you back up in the holder here. All right, let's see if this works. Let me try here. Yeah, I've got some blues here that I did on the second part of this test. So I think they'll be a nice complement and easy to spot if there's an, there we go, now we're dripping. And easy to spot if there's any problems. And all I'm doing is simply dripping it onto this little blade part here. Hopefully that's in focus, we'll see. You see how it's got a little bit of an edge there? That's where I'm applying the inks. I kind of am doing this off camera mainly because I don't want to drip right onto the piece. All right, that's done. I'm gonna get a paper towel just so I can show you, and also to help blend the colors a little bit. So I've got it here, and it should come off, you know, pretty well. So you just apply additional colors if you need it. In this case, I think I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit. One of the colors is a very light teal, so I want to make sure that shows up. Okay, it's like nervous. I'm just going to pounce. So the plan is to apply the color, let it dry. So I'm going to put it off to the side for a little bit, make sure it's dried very well, and then I'll peel it off and we'll see how it goes. Some of the rubber cement might peel off and leave on the paper. Some of it might stay on the stencil. So I don't know, we'll have to see. It's kind of really pretty there. I'm going to add some more of the, well, it's actually mermaid and the lighter teal. What is that? Aqua. I think I just saw a little bit of running underneath. Bringing some aqua tones up in here a little bit more. All right. Let me bring you in for a close-up just so that you can see how it's reacting. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put this off to the side, let it dry completely before I remove the stencil. All right, see you in a moment. All right, it's been a few minutes and the alcohol ink is definitely dry. However, I did move this and I saw some squishy movement around with, look, yeah, there it is right there. So that makes me believe that it did go under the stencil a little bit. So not sure if this test worked out because I definitely do not remember painting in the corner as a good indication. So let's peel this off and see how it did. And if we can get closer and closer to being able to use these type of stencils, there's so many really cool ones out there that I want to see what I can do to make this possible. So let me put you in here and we'll get this thing off. All right, get it a little bit more on camera. There we go. All right, let's see. Yep, definitely one underneath. If it's clean enough, then it might be salvageable. Okay, so the rubber cement looks like it's still wet on the back of the stencil, and that's a good thing because that meant a good adhesion for the most part. All right, let me flip this around and bring in. It always seems to look better when you're looking at something straight on that's going in the right direction. Okay, now granted there's some blends or some bleeds underneath, but the design is still nice and crisp. In other words, you got some definite lines in there. So you can clearly see that there's designs within the horse. There's flowers, there's shapes. You can see those lines very, very clearly in there. And granted there's some bleed, but it looks almost watercolory light. And just with a simple little bit of working with it with a brush and all that, that has got some definite possibilities in there to really play with. So it may not be a clean black white kind of situation, but there is some definite clear design. So depending on your skill ability and being able to get in there and work and manipulate it will depend on how well it does. Now you can see right there the rubber cement is still, some of it transferred to the paper. So, and this area in here is still a little bit on the wettish side. Won't take long to dry off now that it's exposed to air. So I'm going to put this to the side, let it dry off completely, then remove it and see if I can manipulate these lines a little bit and show you what I'm talking about. Later. Okay, I think this had enough time to dry and time to start removing the rubber cement. Okay, I did want to show you this. You notice the corner of this from when I was rubbing the rubber cement off. It definitely transfers. So be mindful of that, in meaning that you could transfer it to an area that you don't want it to transfer to. In other words, if you wanted to be very careful about one color not interfering with another color, then you need to be mindful of that. This kind of gives it almost a distressed look to it, and I'm kind of digging that part. You know, like an old painted sign. I'm just trying to feel for any extra rubber cement left over, as I want to go through with a brush and just do little bitty touch-ups. Man, this stuff. It's like there's always another little tiny bit. All right, I'm gonna bring you down. All right. Sorry about my finger there. But see how in this corner, some of the ink carried in the rubber cement, some of it didn't, but it definitely gave it a distressed type of a look, where it's almost looking a little stained and worn out and stuff. So that's kind of interesting. All right, let me play with the brush a little bit and see what I can do. I'm not looking at doing a big cleanup, just seeing what I have to work with. Let's see. All right. And I'll definitely have my blow dryer on hand to dry off the alcohol really quickly. Just trying to get my rubber cement mess. Actually, I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got a little alcohol in a cup here and a tiny little brush. So we're just gonna start messing around with it a little bit. And it's not that I want to eliminate it all. I just maybe want to get rid of some of the areas that might be distracting. Maybe I have my own little distractions. Since there's a lot of whimsy to the shapes, I'm just playing off with that. And if you want to use the alcohol to remove color, just dip your brush in the alcohol and then dip it back on the color pencil to remove it. Now, if I wanted to, I could stay completely within the horse's shape and clean it up that way, just like that. Let me bring the brush over, or the paper towel over so you can see what I'm doing a little bit more. So let's see. So say I want to start cleaning up some areas just a little bit. You can do that kind of thing. If I wanted to bring it down as a shape or an outline, I could do it like that. All right, let me hit that. Bring that back. So the only reason why I want to hit it with a blow dry every so often is I don't want the alcohol to continue to bleed when I've got some nice fine lines and stuff. If I'm okay with that area, I might just leave it, meaning with it continuing to bleed. Like I'm okay with it kind of blending out right there, but I like the sharp line just above it. You can even, if you want to paint additional colors, bring in my trusty paper plate that has a ton of alcohol inks on there. And sometimes I use it to I want to add a little bling. So I just put a couple drops of alcohol, reactivate the color, reactivate. Hello, you're on camera, reactivate. They're gonna know. Okay, metallics need a little coercing. And just say I want to not do anything to that hoof whatsoever. Okay, let's try that again. All right, let's see, purple. Yeah, we want to add purple. Maybe this one will behave. Oh, there's the copper. Okay, so maybe I want to hit this with a little bit of purple. I can do that too. So So don't be afraid of modifying your designs if they're already down there. Make them your own. We got this little flower here that is screaming for a little bit of color. Kind of make it a, you know, like carousel horses have a lot of different colors and themes on them. A little purple there to draw attention to it. Darn, let me see. Sure. Uh-huh. All right, so I put a couple drops of silver on here. I'm picking up some of, it might even on, there it is. Put a couple drops of silver on there, and I'm gonna add some silver to the little flower here. Just a little bit. Maybe a little bit to the front of the hoof. All right, so this is just, okay, where is it? There it is, haha. Okay, so just adding a little silver in there, just cleaning it up a little bit. Can make it feel like it's intentionally supposed to look like that versus maybe it was still a little messy like that. So I added some whimsy to it with some little spirals coming off of it, or not spirals, I guess little loop-de-loops kind of thing. Add a little bit of color, a little bit of metallic in there. Pulled in a little color with a flower in there. Cleaned up some of the lines in here. So feel free to tweak it out. If it didn't come out quite right, you've got a good base to start with. So have fun with it. Oh, let me modify that. So have fun with it. And hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, but more importantly, hit the bell. See ya.